Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Afternoon Praise, and this is Fearless Faith Friday. Yes, we've made it to the end of the week, and I know you are excited because you have accomplished what you set your mind to do for the week. I'm celebrating you right now. Man, I'm so excited. But let's talk about this, because I know as we go through the week, we accomplish the things we want to accomplish. We still have some internal battles. And today's show is Your Past Has No Authority. Stop moving like it does. Yes. See, all week long, we've been preparing you for something. Monday, we dealt with being called, but not preparing like it. Tuesday, we exposed that qualification happens in private. Wednesday, we confronted the work you've been avoiding. And Thursday, yesterday, we corrected your understanding of serving. But today, on Fearless Faith Friday, this is not about preparation anymore. This is about movement. Because here's the truth, people. Your past is real. I'm going to say that again. Your past is real, but it no longer has authority. It may still have memories. It may still have witnesses. It may still have people who knew the version of you, but it does not have permission to lead your life anymore. So the question is not, did you grow? The question is, why are you still moving like what God delivered you from is still in charge? And today, we're not just going to talk about it. We are going to confront it, correct it, and command movement. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Join us on this heavenly journey, one song at a time, Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise, and this is Fearless Faith Friday. And this week was not about information. This week, Monday through today, the shows that you listen to, it was about transformation. This week wasn't content. It was construction. Every word challenged something in you. Your discipline, your consistency, your mindset, your obedience. And if you were honest, something shifted. Maybe your thinking got sharper. Maybe your conviction got stronger. Maybe you started seeing where you've been cutting corners. But here's the danger. Transformation without actions becomes frustration. Because now you know better, but you're still moving the same. And knowing without movement creates internal tensions. That tension is called conviction. And conviction is not there to make you feel bad. It's there to push you into alignment. And if you ignore it long enough, you won't lose knowledge. You will lose sensitivity. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
You're riding the waves of faith and grace on Wayvve Radio.
What's going on this Good Friday? You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. And today's show, we are talking about your past has no authority. Stop moving like it does. Let's look at 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. This is not a process scripture. This is a position scripture. You are new. That means your identity has already been updated in heaven, but your behavior is still catching up on earth. So the issue is not what God has done. The issue is what you are still allowing, because you cannot keep claiming new identity while practicing old behavior. That creates internal conflict. And when you live in conflict long enough, you either rise to your identity or reduce your standards. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
I want to thank you for joining me on this Good Friday, on this Fearless Faith Friday here on Afternoon Praise. Let's talk about identity lag is keeping you stuck. Let's name the real issue. The real issue is identity lag. And I got some research. Research shows your internal growth can outpace your external behavior. Meaning, you've evolved mentally, you've matured spiritually, you've increased in awareness, but your habits haven't been retrained yet. And your brain, especially the part that stores habits, will default to what it knows under pressure. So when life gets real, you don't rise to your new identity automatically. You fall back to your last consistent pattern. That's why some people look powerful in conversation, but inconsistent in execution, because identity was received, but behavior was never retrained. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise on this Fearless Faith Friday. Your mind is trying to pull you back. Your brain has what psychologists call a thermostat. It tries to regulate you back to what feels normal. So when you start stepping into more responsibility, more discipline, more leadership, your mind says, this isn't you. Not because it's not true, but because it's not familiar. And if you're not careful, you will start shrinking just to feel comfortable again. And many people never fail from lack of potential. They fail from returning to what feels safe. And I'm gonna say that again. Many people never fail from lack of potential. They fail from returning to what feels safe and comfortable. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're tuned in to the Afternoon Praise. Some people are committed to your past. Now, let's deal with something real. It's not just you. Some people are more committed to who you used to be than who you are becoming. They remember your mistakes, your inconsistencies, your old habits. And instead of adjusting to your growth, they keep speaking on the version of you that God already replaced. Because your growth disrupts their expectations. And sometimes it exposes their unwillingness to grow. So they keep you where they understand you. Let's even go deeper. When people see you grow, it makes them uncomfortable because they haven't made up their mind they want to grow. Or in their mind, it says, oh, I got to grow. I got to catch up. This person ain't there no more. I got to not be there no more. But instead of them saying, let me change myself, they want to convert back to your old self. So every time they see you, man, you remember when we used to do this, man? Oh, man, you remember we used to do that? And that's middle school. That's high school. This is when I was doing something that wasn't of God. But don't allow people to bring you back to who you used to be. And that's why the name of the show is Your Past Has No Authority. Even the people in your past, don't give them no authority to speak about your past and the things you used to do. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're tuning into the Afternoon Praise. You got a shout out, hit me up and I got you. Hey, stop letting their memory lead your movement. Yeah, I said it. Let me help some of you all. Just because people remember your past does not mean it still has authority. But here's the issue. You keep agreeing with them. You keep shrinking to match their expectation. You keep adjusting your behavior to stay recognizable. And in doing that, you are delaying your own transformation because you're trying to be understood by people who haven't updated their perception of you. And clarity is not your assignment. Alignment is. Stop having conversations with people. When they bring it up, don't have that conversation. Say that's my past. I don't want to talk about that. Let me talk about what I'm doing now. Let's talk about the goodness I'm doing now. So again, stop letting their memory lead your moment. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Bringing the sounds of heaven 24/7, Wayvve Radio.
You're tuned into the Afternoon Praise. Let's talk about Gideon. Gideon had to reject the old narrative. Judges 6, verses 12. The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. Gideon didn't see that. He saw limitations. He saw fear. He saw himself as the least. But God didn't speak to his past. God spoke to his what? Potential. And here's the key. Gideon didn't fully believe it at first, but he still moved. The movement is what started aligning his identity, because obedience will often come before confidence. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Hey, the last break we talked about Gideon. Now let's talk about Moses. Moses had to let go of his old story. Exodus 3, verse 11. Who am I that I should go? Moses was still speaking from his past failure, still defining himself by what went wrong, still using his history as a limitation. But God wasn't asking Moses to be who he was. He was calling him into who he was becoming. And until Moses accepted that, he kept questioning what God had already confirmed. That's why you must understand your purpose. Understand your God-given purpose. Moses' purpose wasn't to be in the kingdom, wasn't to be the next Pharaoh. That wasn't Moses' purpose. So understand your purpose and stop speaking upon what you used to be. Start speaking on what God is calling you to. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Stop it. Yes, stop. You are misrepresenting who you are. Let's get direct. I had to scratch my beard. Y'all hear that? When you move like your past is still in charge, you are misrepresenting your identity. You are showing up as a version of you that no longer exists. And that confusion doesn't just affect you, it affects the people connected to your assignment. Because people are responding to the version you present. So if you keep presenting the old you, you would keep producing old results. And then you'll start blaming outcomes that are actually tied to your misalignment. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise on this beautiful Friday. It is lovely here in Durham, North Carolina. Where are you listening from? If you're listening live or if you're listening to the playback, if you're on the podcast, listening to the videos, the shorts, wherever you're listening from and however you're listening, I want to know where you're listening from, what city you represent, what state you represent, what country you represent. Hey, I want to know. All right. But I just want to thank you for listening to the Afternoon Praise. Let's talk about Peter. Peter refused to stay in his failure. If you go to Acts 2, verse 14, but Peter standing up. And that's not the whole verse, but it said, but Peter standing up. This is the same man who denied Jesus. Same man. But he didn't protect that narrative. He didn't keep rehearsing it. He didn't let people's memory define his movement. He stood up in authority and thousands were impacted. And that tells you something powerful. What? Failure may mark your past, but it does not have to manage your future. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise, and we got to be like Peter. We got to stand up regardless of what our past, whatever we did in our past. All right. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. This is Fearless Faith Friday, and we are talking about your past has no authority. Stop moving like it does. And we've been saying this right here for a long time on all the shows. Leaders don't move based on feelings. Let's correct something. Leaders don't make decisions based on how they feel. They make decisions based on who they are. Feelings fluctuate. Identity should not. So if you're waiting to feel ready, you're already behind. Because readiness is not emotional. It's potential. It's preparation. And once your position changes, your decisions should follow. It's seasons. Leaders should recognize the seasons that they are in, and they should execute according to the seasons that they are in. Now, I'm not saying leaders don't have feelings. We do have feelings, but we have to look at the truth. We have to look at the season, and we have to make sure that we are making the decision that God is telling us to make and leading, not how we feel, because we might make a decision and we might not agree to it, but it's the right decision. So leaders, you don't move in feelings. All right. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Let's talk about Esther. Esther broke the pattern. Esther, look at Esther 4, verse 16. If I perish, I perish. That's not comfort, y'all. That's commitment. Esther had to break cultural expectations, personal fears, establish patterns to step into her assignment. And your next level will require the same thing. You cannot carry old patterns into new purpose. And you cannot protect your comfort and fulfill your calling at the same time. This is the season. If I perish, I perish. Doing what God called me to do, operating in my purpose. But do know God is with you. God is going to protect you. God said no weapons formed against you shall prosper. He never said the weapons wasn't going to form. He said they won't prosper. And if you're operating in obedience, and if you are aligned in the will of God, guess what? You are covered and protected. It's when you get outside of the will of God, you're no longer covered and protected, because guess what you did? You stepped outside of the protection zone. So again, you stay in the will of God, operating your God-given purpose, and God got you. God got you. Think about it. He loved you so much, he gave his only begotten son to die on the cross, Jesus. So he got you. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. We are good at protecting things, family members, people we love, things we shouldn't be holding on to. But let me tell you this. You're protecting the wrong narrative. I'm going to go deeper with this. Some of you all are protecting your past because it gives you an excuse. And some of you all are surrounded by people who keep protecting your past too, because it keeps you accessible to their comfort. But listen carefully. Your past is not your explanation anymore. It is your evidence. Evidence that you survived. Evidence that you grew. Evidence that God changed you. So stop rehearsing it like it still defines you. Because every time you repeat it, it reinforces it. Stop protecting the wrong narrative. Let your past go. Start telling the stories of your future. And again, your past is evidence that you survived, that you grew, evidence that God changed you. Let that be your testimony. All right? You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Let's do an audit. Let's audit your decisions. Who is leading? Let's get practical, okay? Let's get practical. Look at your last 3 decisions. Not what you said you were going to do, what you actually did. Did they reflect growth, discipline, authority? Or did they reflect fear, delay, or comfort? Because your decisions reveal your leadership. And if your past is still influencing your decisions, then it's still influencing your direction. And direction, not intentions, determines your destination. I'm going to say that again. Direction, not intentions, determines your destination. And you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You just tuned in to the Afternoon Praise on this Fearless Faith Friday here on Wayvve Radio. And we are talking about your past has no authority. Stop moving like it does. Stop. S-T-O-P. Stop. And I also want to say this. Stop negotiating with fear. Joshua 1 verse 9. Be strong and of a good courage. That's not a suggestion. That's a command. Fear will show up, but fear does not get a vote. Fear does not get to decide your peace. Fear does not get to decide your obedience. Faith requires movement in spite of fear. And the longer you negotiate with fear, the longer you delay what God already authorized. And you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. My time is up. Man, this has been a great and powerful week. I've learned a lot. I hope you've learned a lot. And I'm telling you, man, I'm speaking to you, but God was speaking to me through these shows. And I'm just sharing what God has been telling me, what God has been doing in my life, how he has been developing me. And I pray that you take these shows and you just implement them in your life where they need to go. And if you miss any of these shows, you can go to Wayvve Radio and listen to the shows, or you can go to my my YouTube, which is the Business Point Guard. But let me leave you with this. Let me talk to you directly. Come on in. Everybody come in. I know you doing something, but come in. Your past is real, but it has no authority. Not over your decisions, not over your movement, not over your obedience. So stop letting people who remember your past, thoughts from your past, feelings from your past, control how you show up today. You are not that person anymore. That version of you may still be remembered, but it's no longer in charge. So stop moving like it is. Move like you've grown, you've been prepared, you've been called, you've been changed. Because you have. People, you have. You have grown. You have been prepared. You have been called. You have changed. And your next level is not waiting on more preparation. It's waiting on your movement. So step into this weekend and don't just say you've changed. Prove it with how you move. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown, and I want you to go have a great weekend. I want you to recover. I want you to take this weekend and think about what you accomplished during the week, what you didn't get done. I want you to think about how you need to change your mindset, who you need to stop hanging around, who phone calls you need to stop answering. And this is called restoration. And get some rest, people. Get some rest. Hey, if you're in the Greensboro area tomorrow, I want you to join me for Serve the City, my church, Mount Zion Baptist Church. We will be in Greensboro serving the city, and I want you to join me there. All right. Hey, I'm out of here. Peace.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.